r/AskReddit, people who let their mom count to 0. What happened after? Bold of you to assume that they are alive to tell their story. She was bluffing, but only the first time. Everything goes black and the last thing I see is my mother's slipper speeding toward me. It's funny how they can make getting hit by fuzzy pink slipper feel like getting hit by a Mack truck. Kittens. My mom started at 0. 0 immediately punches you. Spawn kill. Oh lord, she common. I'm just piggybacking off this comment because it was literally an oh lord moment. My mum is quite deaf, about 85% of her hearing is gone. Well, around the time it first started to fade, she was in a foul mood. She screamed at me to tell my cousin to come downstairs and come and eat. As I turned and said okay, and she could not read my lips, I just heard her scream from behind me. I said, Gio, and get your cousin, as she opened the freezer door, pulled out a frozen loaf of bread, and launched it directly at my head. I woke up about 90 seconds later with her sobbing on top of me and with a pounding headache, and she never hit me again. We also got McDonald's after. She yelled my name real loud. She said my full name and threatened to count down from 5 next time. I'm gonna count again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.5, 1.25, 1 1/8. Oh bless you, I'd forgotten I played that game with my parents. The first time I heard 2, 1.5, 1.25, I asked why the numbers weren't getting smaller anymore and got my first fraction lesson. That time it was an effective tool because I was so fascinated by the concept of fractions that I stopped fighting leaving the pool. The game was a reward of sorts. When I thought I'd been good enough to get an extra minute before bed, in the bath, etc., after mom or dad got to 2, I'd say 1.5. I didn't always get to play. On days when we had a minute to spare and I'd behaved, the response was 1.25 and the game was on. We went back and forth, saying a number smaller than the one before. When I messed up and accidentally went up numerically, the game was over and I had to do whatever it was they were counting for. They made it harder as I got older, jumping random intervals, but they stopped when I finally completely understood fractions and could go on for hours. Dad later used the game to teach me how negative numbers work, but I caught on to that one quickly. Number games like that are also fun in the car. She slapped the soul out of my body and it ricocheted back in me. Hardest thing as a parent is following through on punishing these kids you love more than anything else in the world. A colleague of mine had 3 small kids. Mother never followed through on disciplinary threats, so the kids ignored hers. Father gave them one warning, then always followed through. They listened to his threats. I saw it in action a few times. The kids would ignore mom, and eventually dad would step in and bam. Instant compliance. Both of them absolutely adored their kids, but dad had the right idea on this matter. She started counting to negative numbers. I had my sister's Hello Kitty belt imprint left on my ass. I see this as an absolute win. Not my mother, because she rarely disciplined me and my siblings, but my grandma. Oh no. When I went to 0, I got her classic little old Asian lady move, a sock filled with pennies thrown at me at speeds I never thought possible. Shit hurted. I'll never know. She got to 7, and, being the resident smartass, I said oh cool, showing off again, mom. That went real well for me. I woke up in the back of a wagon heading to Skyrim. Hey, you. You're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right? Walked right into that Imperial ambush, same as us, and that thief over there. Tried it once. She gave a defeated sigh, then chuckled. Then she said something like, "You're getting too old." That was the day I became a man. I'll never forget my 32nd birthday. My grandma spanked a friend of my mom and dad's for chasing us through her garden. She called his name, he came over, she said turn around, and whipped his ass in front of his wife. He was 35. Never chased us through the garden again, and he loved telling that story. You get old enough, and you start to like it. My ears are still ringing. Seriously, I got a minor case of tinnitus 100%. It was my grandma, because mom didn't give warnings like that. Grandma is tiny, so we didn't worry. Normally we would step in line at 2. Once, AO and 13, I decided to stand my ground and her little arm made contact with the side of my head with the speed of a timber rattler. That day was rough. We learned that running from her was much more effective. Then, she learned that we were not worthy of warnings. I'm 6 feet 5 inches. My nana is about 5 feet 2 inches. One day I was being a smartass to her and my cousin. She told me to stop picking on my cousin, or she'll smack me one. I kept going. My nana came up beside me and asked me to steady her while she leaned on me. I didn't think anything of it until she smacked me in the back of the head with her slipper and said, "I told you I'd smack you one if you didn't cut it out." I was 27 at the time. The chase of a lifetime that ended in a red hot posterior. My grandma got so very pissed a couple of my cousins once that she started throwing whatever she could get her hands on. Shiz, spoons, brushes, but they were dancing around so much trying to dodge that they burst out laughing. This only pissed her off more, and their brother decided to help her out by bringing the stuff she threw back to her, so she never ran out of ammo, but this only made them laugh harder, while simultaneously yelling at him to stop. They reached a stalemate when they all got tired to carry on. She reset me to the factory settings. Wooden spoon impact. Edit. I see a lot of people asking if I'm Italian, Irish, or even Polish. Nope, American, but the art of the wooden spoon was taught through many generations in our family. I'm just thankful I never got the belt. Moms never get to 0. There's fractions out there you can't even imagine. 1 9/2. The doctor diagnosed her with dyscalculia. I'll let her divide by 0 once. A black hole opened up, and all HELL asterisk broke loose asterisk HECK. Sorry mom. Your parents counted. I stupidly said wow, I didn't know you could count, and she beat the soul out of me. I saw everything that had ever happened in any place ever all at the same time. I saw every great extinction event in reverse, and the thunderous slaps had fucking reverb. She beat me like a sexually frustrated teen beats their meat. She hit me so hard I saw new colors. Her grip was like a jaguar's jaws on a gazelle's neck. There was no escape. Alright, I'm coming in late here, but this reminded me of the time I went the distance with my mom. My whole life we've rarely argued, and during my entire upbringing we only had a few actual fights. All of which were 100% my fault. The point I'm making is that my mom is a really sweet, genuine person who did an amazing job raising 2 boys on her own. When I was 12 I had a bad day and got home in a mood. I wasn't quite looking for a fight per se, but I was being a crabby, snappy, negative jerk. Mom put up with it for a while and then had enough. I can't recall the catalyst, but she wanted me to do something and I refused. So the count came, 3, 2. And I interjected, 1, bitch. There was a stunned silence for a moment, and then she looked at me with rage in her eyes. I'm sorry, I pleaded, but I had crossed a line and punishment was coming. She moved so fast, like a blur, and I was frozen. I was taller than her, but she scooped me up, thrust me in a chair, and told me to wait there. Her voice had both ice and heat. How is that possible? She came back with a bar of ivory soap which she jammed into my mouth. It was gross, with high notes of bitter soap taste, but also a strange sickly sweetness that made me want to gag. And that's how I know that Dr. Pepper tastes like Robitussin with ivory soap, a splash of prune juice and carbonated water. I think I got grounded as well, but the fear she instilled really did the trick. She smiled and embraced me. "You've passed the test," she said. "You are a man now." The next day I woke up, and I was a plumber with 20 years experience. Thank you for watching. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Have a great day/night.